Hey there, welcome to the Breakthrough Creative. I am your host, John McDavitt, and this is the place where we talk about the business of art and the art of business. My guest today is someone who I have literally had the pleasure of watching grow up. Sarah Shadrack is the daughter of my very good friend, Greg Eichelberger, who was my guest in episode 12. And talent and skill and creativity surge through that family. And Sarah is, of course, no different. Sarah has done so much in her very young career. She is an accomplished visual artist and has a very, very strong performance background in her history of singing and acting and writing and so much more. And at a very young age, Sarah started a princess party company before people were really even thinking about hiring a princess to come to your child's birthday party. So I am very, very excited to introduce you to Sarah Shadrack.
I'm kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, maybe. I'm a singer-songwriter. I just released my first single over the summer, Unapologetically. I'm also an entrepreneur. I started my own business, Princess Party Chicago, Inc., back in 2012. Ran it for about 6 years and then sold it to my best friend. Now I work as a princess performer. I'm also an actress and also a freelance artist. So right now I'm doing commissions, portraits, prints, artwork from home, and I just started a new YouTube channel where I kind of take you through drawing a character and then I cosplay the character. For those of you who don't know what cosplay is, it's dressing up as a character and kind of impersonating them. It's kind of what I do for my job anyway, so I just kind of tie it all in and just kind of tapping into all the creative avenues, I guess. So yeah.
That's it.
I'm also a single mom of a crazy 4-year-old and 2 puppies. So I mean, hey,
So
throw
I
that in.
laugh and I give Sarah trouble here because she is so talented, and you guys know, if you've listened for a while, you know how I feel about the word talented. But she's talented and she's skilled, and she is she's like a force of nature. She's single-minded once she starts pursuing an idea or a business or a creative venture. And so, Sarah, I'm so glad you're here. I mean, I've gotten to watch you grow up, and I'm really proud of who you are, and I'm grateful that you're on the show. It's fun. It's fun to watch you create. It's fun to watch you be a mom. All of this stuff is so cool. And so, I want to go back about, maybe 15-ish years. And I can remember that you were always incredibly creative. I remember that you were always writing stories, and I remember particularly with Domino, you had the whole Ewok kind of show going on.
Baby
Yeah.
Stubbs. That was my Ewok stuffed animal from Disney World. I created it. I found iMovie and I had created this whole series. Baby Stubbs was his name.
where
Character. It
where
started
did
because
all where like that whole part of who you are, like can you remember a time before you were ever creative? Like, that's always kind of been you, right?
in all the home videos, I was always making these plays and I was always the boss and the director. And my sister teases me because she says that she was forced to be the prince because I was always the princess. So it'd be Little Mermaid. I was Ariel, of course, and Hannah was Eric. And I would say, no, she loves the princess. She loves it. She loves it. And then growing up, she's like, no, you forced me. And I'm like, oh, sorry. So I guess I've kind of been directing, AKA bossing, since I was a baby. My dad tells a story that I was 1.5 and I was crying uncontrollably one day. And he finally just said, Sarah, what do you want? And he says, and I quote, that I said, to be in charge. And I was not even 2. So the rest is history, I guess.
So I've heard that story, and I've seen you, through, kind of your tween years where you were acting in plays, and Sarah has an incredible singing voice, and she has an incredible presence on the stage and in front of the camera. And I remember it was right around that time. I think you were about 11, was it, that you had written a script for a movie?
Yeah, right
Tell
around
me
11
about
or
that.
12. Yeah, so I always wanted to be an actress and make movies, and Titanic was my favorite movie at the time. I don't know if you remember that. I was called Titanic Girl in school because I kept wearing this shirt I got on eBay. It was a time. Anyway, I was fascinated by James Cameron and the movie. I even looked up like the cameras that they used and all this stuff, and I was just very into, I would just get obsessed with something. And so I thought, I was reading about how James Cameron got huge success after Titanic, how hard he worked to get there. And at that time, I kind of was more into directing and writing than I was into being in front of the camera. That has since changed. I would much rather just be in front of the camera now. But back then, I just kind of wrote the script. I had this idea for an adventure movie. I really liked time period piece kind of thing. So it's set in the 1940s, kind of a fantasy idea. And because I was doing acting for shows and I was doing some short films, and I would get paid little paychecks here and there because I'd go in and audition for things. And at that time, that's kind of what I was doing. So I had a lot of connections with, small time independent film actors and things like that. So I kind of just set up this audition, and it was at the CAC back at Community Christian Church. They had an arts center. And so I was there, and I just had a ton of people show up, and I just cast the film. And my sister was really mad I didn't cast her as the lead. Love you, sis. She was an extra. But I also wasn't in it. I was a director. But I cast this great, awesome, fun group of people. And I mean, here I was 12, or maybe I think I was around 12 when I started casting. So I was 14 by the time it was done. So um, I just was, I don't know why I wasn't like, I'm so young. No, that thought like never crossed my mind. I was like, all right, everyone, welcome to the audition. So here's what we're going to do, and I just led the whole thing, and I cast people. And I remember we got 1940s costumes, and we had all this fun stuff, and we had sets and everything. And my dad took me downtown. We rented per day, every day that we filmed, we rented this camera. And at the time it was like 780p or something like that. And I'd done all the research, and it was supposedly this Canon. It was this really great like film camera that you hold. And so my dad took me to the city, and we rented it from this shady little shop. And we my dad single-handedly just filmed the entire thing. He followed us around into the forest. He walked through the marshes. He he was in and out, and he literally filmed the whole thing. So
This was a production. This wasn't like you just went in your backyard or you were in your
yeah.
basement. I mean, you guys, I think you guys filmed along the railroad tracks at one point.
Yep, we did the Lockport train station, the railroad tracks. Of
Yeah.
course, it's supposed to be the 40s, and we did have a digital metro sign get into one of the shots. But hey, it was still a cute scene. But yeah, we did the railroad track. We did the forest preserve behind High Point. We did we set up sets in the rooms of the art center. So we actually had like the bedroom scenes. We literally used tables for beds, and we put the bedspread on them, and so the character's laying on a table but it looks like a bed. And we brought furniture in, and we used that room. And then we also used the basement of my parents' house for all of the house scenes. So we had like different days and spots that we used. But yeah, it was a full length movie, so it was a lot of filming for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a huge production for, what you guys were doing. My goodness. You finished filming, you edited it, and then you actually had a premiere at a local movie theater. I mean, like that, like you had it set in your mind that this was going to be, you know, beginning to end. This was a movie and it was going to show in a theater. How many people showed up for that? I mean, it was family and friends, right?
It was family and friends, and then some random people. I mean, the cool thing was like the cast and all their people that were interested. And I
Yeah.
had a lot of colleagues. And when I say colleagues, I mean other actors that I worked with professionally. um, Francine Locke was a big inspiration for me, and she's being professional actor. She's been in some famous things. She came. So just like a lot of really cool people. But yeah, once I got back then, it was like the self-doubt like hadn't set in yet. So I was
Hmm.
pretty much like whatever I wanted to do, I just did it. And I didn't have any like I just wasn't nervous. I just did everything. Now I have to contemplate for 2 to 3 years before I do anything. I'm just kidding.
So
Sorry.
wait, tell me about that though. What's with the self-doubt? Where does that pop up?
Oh, I think just as I grew up and, you become a teen and you start, maybe somebody says, you get, you look in the mirror and it's, oh, I want to be this, I want to be that. And then it's, is this even any good? Should I continue? Like all that stuff. Obviously, I feel like every artist been through that, probably every person. But my point is that I hadn't even reached that phase at this point yet.
Yeah.
So I just like was full steam ahead. Like everything was just rolling down the tracks. And I just, it was based, the world was basically my oyster. So I just was doing whatever I dreamed, I guess.
Is that
So
is that like ignorance is bliss, or is that like
maybe
just full on confidence, or
I don't even know like what I was thinking in my brain.
yeah.
Honestly, it's been half my life ago, but I just know that it was very much so like when I set my mind to something, I would just make it happen. My family always said like if I said I was going to do something, I would do it. If I really wanted something enough, I would get it, like that kind of thing, just because I would just work for it and I would just do it. And I mean, I was so young at that time, but yeah, I said I'm going to have a movie premiere. This is going to come out. People are, I want this in theaters. Like, and I don't remember anybody saying I was crazy or anything. I remember I raised money for it. One of our actresses' moms like donated a lot of money for the production. And um, I remember I think I was even selling candy bars at one point, like at the
Hmm.
beginning, like knocking on people's
I
doors, like
ate
selling
some of
candy.
those candy bars. I know I
Yeah.
bought some. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I
pretty
think I
sure
bought
like
them. I might have just eaten them. I hope I bought them.
you maybe ate the extras. I'm sure you supported. I'm sure you did. I can't remember. But we knocked on doors and I mean, I just did all this stuff. And I remember that when I started talking about how it was going to be this premiere and everything, some newspapers got interested. And I don't know how that happened, to be honest. Like I still have the newspapers, saving them for my grandchildren one day. But it's fun to show to people sometimes. But I got in the Romeoville Bugle, the Daily Herald, I think maybe the Lockport Bugle, a couple of like local towns and the Daily Herald too, reached out to me and like wanted to interview me, wanted to cover the premiere, wanted to take pictures at the premiere, things like that. So when the premiere day came, I had contacted Hollywood Boulevard in Darien. Is it Darien technically? It's off 75th
Yeah, yeah.
over there. And I loved that theater because all the different rooms were like themed to movies and it's a really cool place. And so basically I was able to get an entire, like, as long as I sold all the tickets, like it, broke even, like I didn't really have to pay for anything. And it sold out. It was 200 people. Like it was a full theater. I don't think there were like any spots open. Like the tickets went like that. Like it was a big deal. And we rented a red carpet and we had lights and the newspaper people were there flashing pictures. And when the day came, we all dressed up really fancy and all the actors, a lot of children. I mean, there were a couple adults, but it was mostly like kids. We got to strut down the red carpet with newspaper people taking pictures and lights flashing, and everybody I loved and knew was there. And it was just this like incredible day. And I don't remember even feeling nervous at all. I just had my hands on my hips and I was like, hey, like I just,
Yeah,
there
there
I
was
was.
not a nerve in you. I know
No,
there wasn't. You were very competent and confident.
it was a crazy day. And then the pictures actually of me like standing on the red carpet coming out with the crowd of people around. They're about to take the rope down and let out the way for to get into the theater and everything, take people's tickets. And there were just, the cameras there. And so one of the newspapers that I have saved, it's like, black and white. And it's like Romeoville 14-year-old Sarah Eichelberger makes, directs, and writes own movie or something like that. And I just remember thinking like, I can't believe they wanted to, get me in this newspaper and more than one. And it just ended up being really, really cool. So it was a really great day. And then after that, though, I kind of moved on to other things. So I didn't really pursue like pushing the movie or doing other things. I kind of took it as a learning experience and kind of just kept acting and doing more stuff after that. Um, but yeah, it was, I'm a little embarrassed nowadays when I pop the DVD back in. I wouldn't show it to everyone, but it was definitely cool for its time. It was cool for its time. And to say that I did that, it definitely I think plunged me into, creating my own business later on, and, fully supporting my mortgage and my bills and having a kid and all this stuff, because I was able to, support myself. And that started from that drive, I think, way back then when I was little. So
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the business. Where did the business come from? How did it hit you? And how did you decide to start it?
actually, so because I was doing acting and singing, and I did a little modeling, some beauty pageants, things like that. When I was a teen, I always loved Disney, like big time. I loved being in musicals, stage shows. Anytime I got the stage to sing, like it was just ever since I was, I don't know, born, I've just been like obsessed with Disney movies. And Ariel was my favorite. I used to tell my parents I was going to run away and live with Ariel whenever I was mad. Just like super obsessed. So a lot of people knew that. And so actually family friends had asked if I would come dressed up as Rapunzel. It was right when Tangled came out. So that was 10 years ago now. If I would
Wow.
come dressed up as Rapunzel to her kid's birthday. And this like wasn't a thing 10 years ago. Like now it's an oversaturated thing. Parents, you've probably heard of princess parties, probably seen people like the Kardashians and other famous people have characters at their party. But when I started this, we were one of the very first ones, at least in the Chicagoland area. Like it wasn't a thing. So I was just kind of like, oh, like, okay. I had never really heard of that, but I was like, sure. So of course I already had a Rapunzel homemade costume and wig that my sister and I made. So I went to this little girl's party, and I just I was just in my element. I was Rapunzel in every way, shape, and form. I overstayed because I was having so much fun. I was singing and acting, and the kids were like, "It's you! You're really her!" And it was just like the best time ever. And from there, it kind of turned into like more people at that party asked me to come to their party, and then it just kind of was this thing. And then I thought, like, sure, I wasn't even 18 yet, but I was like, what if like I did this like as a job? Like, I love kids. Babysitting was always like one of my main things. And you put me in a room with kids. I actually interned at this church for a while when I was 15, and I had started my own. Basically, they told me, you get to sit at the front desk and check people in. Well, I would check these people in, and then there'd be like 3 hours of me just sitting there, and all the kids coming in and out of these classes would be there. So I would just somehow it started that I was taking orders, and I would just draw them whatever character they wanted. So I'd get like a line, and like it'd be like all these 5, 6, 7 year olds. I want Ariel, I want Rapunzel, and I'd sit there and I'd draw them whatever they wanted, and I would just give it to them. So I kind of became like a little factory. So I love kids. So you put me in a room with kids, and it's like, hey guys, like I don't know, I just love them. So it just became this thing of all my favorite things combined. Singing, acting, in a way, directing, because I came up with an entire kind of schedule for what you do when you go to a party, song, story, crowning, all this stuff. And it just became this thing. And then when I was around 18, we actually got a Groupon. And so with that Groupon, it just skyrocketed. I mean, we were all over the Chicagoland area, doing,
So
Frozen.
you started the business, if I can just
Mhm.
kind of take it
You're good.
apart a little bit. So you started the business, and it sounds like leading into the business, you worked out a lot of the play part of it
Yep.
at this job you were at that was, welcoming kids in, right? And you kind of had the drawings, and you're singing and you're playing, and it was like fun, and it was research for this business.
Right. Yeah, it kind of was. And it kind of, all of the different experiences I had up until then, like even my movie that we were talking about, kind of, I think, um, all mixed together to create a young entrepreneur and everything that I did. And I'd never, run a business before, but of course I would just steamrolled right into it head first. Like,
Yeah.
I just went right in. And like I said, once we got that Groupon, the phone never stopped ringing. For 6 years, I owned and ran that business, and it was a lot of work. By the end of it, I had 30 contract workers that were underneath me, princess actresses, superhero character actors, like male performers, things like that, all going out as characters and singing and dancing and acting. And we did things from malls to events, Raging Waves Water Park, Blackberry Farms, on stage in front of 500 plus people every weekend for 6 years. every single weekend. And this pandemic has been so odd because it's the first time in more than 6 years that I don't have princess parties on the weekends. Like, it's really weird. But yeah, it was so busy. I remember when I was actually in labor, I was still on my phone emailing clients. I'm not even kidding. I was like, I have to tell them they can have their party. Like, I just couldn't stop. Like, it ended
Of
up kind of
course you couldn't.
devouring me.
So let me pick up with you if we could. Um, at the beginning of the business when you started it,
Mhm.
how I mean, how many you I've seen like the rack of costumes that you've had and the wigs and the shoes and everything to go with it. Like how well put together was everything when you started?
When I started, it was a mess, to be honest with you. And sometimes it still is. Lauren, the new owner, who's my best friend and bought it from me, she's a lot more organized than I was. But I was running it out of my house. Well, first in my first apartment, it was in my guest bedroom. The closet was just full of costumes, and we kind of started out with, we started out with Rapunzel, we had Ariel, and Anna and Elsa. I think maybe Cinderella. So we started out with just a couple, and then as clients would ask for more, we would then order new costumes, and they were just kind of all in this closet. So whenever we started hiring people, because it got too much for just me and my sister to do all of them, we started hiring people. And when we did, it would just be this horde of people coming into my living space and going into this closet full of things, and everybody's in the bathroom and everybody's changing, and it it was really stressful and it was really messy. And then from there, well, I mean, it just kept growing: more costumes, more wigs, more costumes, more wigs, until finally we had just more than 20 characters you could choose from superheroes to princesses to random characters, and it was just a lot. So then when I got my house, we kind of turned the garage into basically a studio. People still had to come through the house, but they could get changed in there. And we just had racks and racks and racks of dresses and costumes. Like I said, definitely more than 20 different things as
It
far
was
as wigs.
interesting because you actually had like a separate entrance that they could come in, right?
Yeah.
And then
We had
and
like our own, yeah, like it could be a separate thing. They would only have to come in to use the bathroom, and everything like that. But it was it was still taking a chunk out of my living space. But it was kind of like I was able to work from home, booking the parties Monday through Friday on the phone. I mean, the phone was always ringing, emails always going. I was supposed to be done at 7, but I never was. I was always answering emails. And then on the weekends, I would go and be the princesses. So it was like 24/7 work. I never stopped, kind of a thing. Um,
what were
and it
the
was at my house. So
what were the expenses like percentage wise, would you say? I think when I think of my business, I don't have costumes. I don't like it's computer, it's paper, it's paint, and I try and stay around the 40% of my gross as expenses, and then 60% is the, I guess, whatever you want to call the net, right? But
yeah.
were you able to kind of pinpoint that?
At first, I would say it's maybe like 40, 60, but then it became so much more. The profit was just so much more than what I put in. If I was doing the parties, I was really pocketing, I mean, so much. Like, you would sell the package, I guess, when you break down the hours, but since I was the owner, I wasn't really,
Mm-hmm.
thinking of it as being paid per hour. But you sell a package, for a couple $100, and what expense goes into it. If at the beginning, when I'm being the princess, so out of that couple $100, I'm getting paid for my time. I'm also getting paid to book it. Yeah, I bought the costume and the wig, but I bought that once and I've used it, what, 200-300 times before I need to buy another one. So I end up making back everything I would spend on the costume and wig in just about one party,
Right.
you know and then you make a big profit off of booking it again, again, again. It starts to get a little dicey when you are using another actor, because then you have to pay a percentage of the package to that actor. You have to take out the cost of travel. We would also have a manager that would go with the characters to keep them safe and play their music, so that we keep character integrity. So that would be another chunk. So it would end up being, about 60-40 after that, paying people. But I made most of my money by doing it myself. So then I would end up really getting to pocket most of it.
Yeah.
Um, but the curse was that I always wanted better stuff. And it's like that with any business. I think you start out with kind of crappy stuff, not that great. But what was really great about us was that we could sing and act. And then as time went on, we started to buy, commissioned costumes from actual seamstresses who made these amazing pieces, and they're thousands of dollars. And then you get your fancy wigs from stylists who have worked at really famous places or do show wigs, things like that. And so then I just got into this kind of thing of needing to have all the best stuff. And it was hard because if you want to make a living off of it, you can't necessarily just spend all the all the earnings and pump it back into the business. So I had to kind of quell my hunger for that stuff towards the end. And Lauren's a lot better with that stuff than I was, because she likes all the nice stuff and she finds a way to make it happen. But I was trying to support my family off of it, so it wasn't necessarily enough to do all of that by the end of it for me.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because you talk about how it was a mess at first, and I think people who are watching, who are artists themselves, or maybe you're not an artist and you're hearing that, well, that's an artist thing. Artists are messy, but I think starting a business and entrepreneurialism is messy, and like your gift mix it's a very creative gift mix, and I know that you have really strong administrative skills as
I'm
well.
actually really organized, which is funny.
Yeah, you're a good
Yeah,
organizer. And I mean, how, like, there's something I heard somebody say once, and I think I mentioned it on a show recently, and it's that um, running and building a business is like flying in a plane at 40,000 feet while you're building it.
I love that. Yeah, I think I did hear you mention that in one of your podcasts.
Would
It's
you
actually
say,
true.
would you agree that, did you experience that?
Yeah, 100%. It's like you don't know exactly if you're going to be able to keep making it or where you're going, but you're still putting on pieces of the plane and hoping the engine gets you where you need to go.
Right.
It's Yeah, it's exactly what it's like. It's like building a bridge to get across, but you're doing it while you're walking. Like,
Right, right.
you just don't know where the end is or where you're going, but you just kind of keep chugging along. It's the opposite, I think, of the way corporate businesses run, because they're like a well-oiled machine. They know what they're going to do. They've got printouts and people and this and that. But when it's your own thing, you don't really need to have the printout of where I'll be in 20 years and what my
Right.
investments are. No, you're just kind of going. You're just chugging along. Yeah,
Well, and
it's
I
great.
think it looks good in corporate to look that way. I don't know how real that all is,
Yeah, that's
but
true. I wouldn't
but
know.
right. So how did you figure out your pricing?
It was kind of just like everything else in the business. We started with a number for our time, and just kind of went from there. I mean, we kind of tried at the beginning, our costumes and wigs weren't very expensive. So the things that we kind of factored in were, okay, travel time, gas, the amount of time I'm going to be there, what supplies am I bringing? Because at the beginning, we used to give party favors out to the kids and a birthday crown. So it would be, all right, let's factor in those costs. Let's factor in our time. So if it's an hour party, how much do I want to be paid for that hour? All of that kind of stuff. And we kind of just kind of added it all together for a number. I remember we started out literally doing like 30-minute parties for 99 bucks. Like it was like a Groupon. So people were just buying up. Or I think it was actually 50 bucks for 30 minutes at the beginning, 49. And then we had a 99 deal for an hour, which is just insane. But that's what it started out with. And people were just buying them like hotcakes.
Yeah.
And they were flying off the virtual shelves. And so, but of course, Groupon took a fee. So by the end of the day, I would only end up making around 50 or 60 bucks for a 30-minute party. So or for the hour, we ended up upping our prices pretty quickly after that because it was a little bit ridiculous. But it helped us get to where we needed to get. And by doing the parties myself, I was able to kind of pocket more of the money. But then over time, we just $50 increase, $50 increase, $50 increase, bought better stuff, hired more people. Yeah, we've had some.
So you had, like, I guess that's why you had the manager helped to be some security for them.
Yeah, the manager idea kind of came about from the beginning. It was just a safety thing. So you had a driver to drive you somebody to go check the party before you come in, somebody to escort you in and out and kind of stand in the background, almost like a bodyguard kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they also would answer questions for parents and clients, pass out business cards, hold the speaker, play the music, hand us our book, hand us our supplies, because it was important to us that as the characters, we stayed in character. So we would do the whole, what's a cell phone? What's a TV? We don't have that in our land, you know, and the manager helped make that happen because we didn't have to press play on our phone or speaker. And we were safe because we had protection. So that was kind of a mandatory thing that we always had. And yeah, that and kind of just trying to figure out where the parties were. And there were always some tells about sketchy clients too. Like I would always get the calls where it's like, can I get a discount because my family's having a hard time? Or can I pay you half now and can I pay a deposit? And our whole thing was that we never did deposits. It was pay
Mm-hmm.
in full, because you're booking a spot of our time that we could book to someone else. And the thing is, you couldn't get a refund, but you could change the date for the same party. So you
Okay.
could do that, but we wouldn't give you your money back because you are booking a spot, you know, and we were
So they
really
would
busy.
they
So,
would book you, they would pay 100%. There were
yep,
no refunds, but they could move the date.
correct. You got
Okay.
a free reschedule.
And then
So
you've got a good client then if
yep, you
they
got a good
say that.
client if they're okay with that. Anybody who started having an issue with, oh, we don't want to pay, can't afford it yet. Well, this so and so lets you pay at the party. Okay, well then go with them. Have a good day. Like,
Yeah.
because it's just the clients that would start off like that or call. I would have these moms that would just call. It's like, look, I'm a single mom, like I get it, but like calling me 50 times in a day, like that makes me not want to come to your party. Like
Mm-hmm.
we had clients like that trying to shortchange us, trying to add things, threatening to post a bad review if I don't do X, Y, and Z. They want extra, they want this, they want that. I do not miss that aspect of running a business. It's like you're doing customer service and you're also doing retail and you're also doing acting and you're also doing books. And it was just like all this stuff, like
So
at
all
all.
of that stuff was kind of like drinking from a fire hose, huh? It got
Yeah.
to
And
be, it was too much.
it wasn't, yeah, it wasn't worth it.
I know too, you had some spectacular clientele, and I know
Mhm.
that you had one that you couldn't even tell me about, but it was like kind of a high-end client.
Yeah, we did. We got a really amazing celebrity client. We did sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. So
Wow.
can't say his name, but he is very famous. And we got to visit in the city, his beautiful home, and which was an apartment, like an entire floor of the apartment. And his assistant had looked online and loved our Ariel, who is our owner now, Lauren. And she just is Ariel in every way. And the assistant reached out and said, like, he wants you. Like, we like your video and your singing. And that was a big tell on kind of how I started the company of, becoming the character and singing and acting and doing this all live, no singing to tracks and stuff like that. And Lauren was, uh, she went to Millikan, really prestigious theater school. So she's great. And so she got to go and do it. And she got to be filmed by a little handheld camera by this amazing celebrity, which I don't know how she got through that. I would have been, well, I would have done it, but I would have been so nervous, like crazy, for his little girl. But to get to
But
go
they
and do that,
really vetted you, huh? They vetted your
they
company and
they looked and they reached out to us, like, and it was his assistant. Yeah, so it was really cool. The thing that we have is this, 10-year client base of repeat clients and families who use us, kids that we've seen as babies, 6, 7 years old, that we've been at all their parties, clients like that, celebrities. And really, we kind of started branching in towards the end of my ownership to businesses like the Fox Valley Mall,
mhm.
um, you know, Raging Waves Water Park, and just big places where we book out contracts. It'll be like, okay, 10 events for the year. We'll do story time, we'll do this, we'll do that. And Yorktown Mall does a really cute story time every year. It just stinks right now because we can't do any of these events because of COVID. But before, it was like nonstop. Christmas time was so busy. Um, the new Lenox Park District, like the fire department, police department, would always do like ton of lights and heated tents, and princesses would be in there, and they'd have Santa, and it was really cool. We do hot cocoa events and just stuff like that. So it just really opened the door for all this incredible magical stuff to be able to.
Yeah, I was going to say it's just like magic, isn't it? So here's the 2021. Let's get through this so that we can get back to the the
I
good
know.
stuff.
It's
So,
weird.
so what led you, to make the decision that you were going to sell this business that you had created, built, and now, I mean, you really built it into something. I mean, it was
Yeah,
amazing.
it's turned out really amazing. And towards the end of it, so I hired Lauren. She's my best friend. And I met her in I think around 2015. I think we've been best friends for at least 5 years now. She auditioned. I hired her. She was amazing. And she sang "Part of Your World" from Little Mermaid. And I remember I was holding my puppy who was a baby at the time, and she loved the music so much that she fell asleep while Lauren sang, and it was really cute. And we became really good friends, and we just kind of shared the same passion for princesses and everything. And she had a lot of great ideas, and she had a lot more leeway to. Sometimes she would say, "Well, I want this dress, or I want this character that we don't have," and I would say, "Well, it's not in the budget." So then she would just buy it for herself, and then I would just send her out. She'd get to do parties in those. So she ended up kind of already helping shape the business in that way. On her own personal dime, she would do that. Like she had her own tail, and she had her own shells, and she had her own. Those are Lauren's. You don't touch those. Those are hers. She had her own stuff, but she would put in time and money and stuff like that for it. And then of course I would give her all the priority parties, like, the celebrity parties. And I knew that if I sent her, it would be great, so she was like my right-hand man. And then towards the end of it, I had hired her to be my assistant. So she made a commission off of every party she booked. She would handle my emails, my calls, bookings. She would even post schedules. So she was kind of doing all that stuff because, and that all started once I got pregnant. And I got pregnant, and then I was a mom, full-time mom. So here I am with a baby alone all day, every day, and running this business. And so she took care of the books for me. And then I would still go out and do parties though. I actually did parties like directly after I had my daughter. Um, I remember I was doing an aerial party one day, and I'm in the little shells and the little, fin that I'm waddling and my stomach's out. And I think the manager had told the parents that I had just had a baby. And I remember the moms and aunts going, "No way, Ariel, you look great. You look great." And I was like, "Hey, a mama's got to work." But it really stemmed from me transitioning into being a full-time mom and taking care of my home. And I had 3 dogs, and running the business was just way too much for me. And I was amazed at how much it grew and how successful it was. It was making, I mean, just overall profit more than 6 figures, and then that's before paying everybody and what I took home. But I still took home what a good, decent job would be. And I, started it myself. So for it to kind of get to that point was amazing, but it ended up being too much. And Lauren had always talked about wanting to own it, wanting to take it over. So it was kind of something that we had already agreed on, that one day I would sell it to her. And so when my daughter was, I think she was 2, in 2018, we transferred it over to her. So we sold it to her. She paid us um, a lump sum, and she got everything. So we got a moving truck, and we put all the stuff in it and brought it over to her place. And the rest is history. She's hired new people, amazing new actors. She's got the best costumes and wigs ever. She was able to kind of put 100% in, where I feel like I was only able to put 50% in, because the other 50% I was trying to take care of my kids. So that's really kind of the reason for it. And also I realized that as much as I loved the job, I don't think that I ever really wanted to be a business owner per se, like in charge of 30 people and running corporate and doing customer service and retail. That all kind of happened on its own. But it wasn't necessarily my plan. I'm creative. I don't want to stick to one job the rest of my life. I kind of want to spread my wings and fly around and do different things. So I think I felt a little tied down too. So
Yeah. And so no seller's remorse or anything?
no, I don't miss owning it, and I
Mm.
have not regretted it a single time. And you know what?
And you
Part of it
still
might,
get to do it.
yeah, because I still do it. So
Yeah.
now it kind of flipped. I did bookings for her for a while, and I would get commissions for booking video calls, things like that. I would, I'm kind of like her right hand girl. Like I would fix wigs for her and transfer costumes here and there and take care of things like that. And I still do. Right now, it's all video calls, but we've still been doing a decent amount. So I still dress up as characters and come out here and do video calls. And stuff. I've got a couple costumes at the house, like I have Jasmine and Belle and characters like that. So it's like I never stopped. Like, and even when I sold it to her, it was like still every weekend I was going out as princess, and she gives me priority. So I, just like she was my number one, I'm hers. So I can go on whatever party I want, and she'll order fancy new costumes with my measurements, so it's kind of mine even though it's not, kind of thing. And so it's really great, and it's also great getting to do it with her. I mean, we'll do Anna and Elsa together and harmonize like nobody's business because we're basically sisters, and it's just really great getting to share that with her. And I like someone else being in charge rather than myself so much. So it's
There
good.
you
It's
go.
good.
So you built this business, you learned so much from it. It was time to move on from it, and you sold it, which is amazing. I mean, you built a brand, and then you sold it, and then you're taking care of your daughter, and you're kind of looking for something new to do. And next thing I know, you show up in a class that I'm teaching, an art class. And I introduce you to Procreate?
Yeah, you did.
So you had an iPad,
Hmm.
I had an iPad, and I work primarily, up to that point I worked primarily on my Mac, on Adobe Photoshop and in Illustrator. And I ended up buying this iPad, and I found Procreate, which is a ridiculous program. Like, it is so good. And the interface is so easy, and it feels like you're working with real art supplies in a virtual manner. The output is incredible. And Sarah decided to try this out. So I had a season where I was meeting with people and I was teaching, and then Sarah went to town with it after that. And uh, but what is really cool is you you were going to town digitally, and then how did you get into colored pencils? Where did that come from?
Remember the one class? There was one class where I brought a little 12-pack of Prismacolor pencils, and you would do demos. So you would basically, it was such a cool class because, and to preface this, I've always been into art ever since I was a little girl. I used to ask you tips all the time when I'd be like 8 or 9. Hey, Mr. John, can you show me how to do this, that? And I was always fascinated by John. He's always been like a role model for me. And since I was little, I would look at something and just draw it. Like my uncle has pictures like hanging in his house still of all my art. It'd be Ariel, it'd be Disney, it'd be cartoon, primarily cartoon. Although now I really like drawing portraits, but just look at it and draw it. I was not one of the do a circle, sketch, get the lines. No, I would just look at something and do it. And it became this thing in school. I would do them for friends. Like I said, when I was 15, I would start like a little table. Like it was just a talent that I had that I didn't really do anything with. Um, and so I've always kind of done it on the side though and loved it. And then after I sold my business, I was kind of like free to explore what things I wanted to do. And so when John said he was having a class, I was like, heck yeah. And it was really awesome because you would have us kind of just talk about what we wanted to learn. And he would take classes where he would just do demos with different mediums. And I had this little 12-pack of Prismacolor pencils, and I had them for years. I don't know why I bought them, but I wanted them, I guess. And I did not know how to use them properly. And so I was very curious, and I asked, because mostly, like you were saying, I was into the iPad and the Apple Pencil. That class, I think I made like 50 pictures. I just like wouldn't stop. I felt like I had unlocked a new like realm, and I just was up till 3 in the morning every day, like drawing on the iPad. Because I could suck colors up from another photo and replicate them. I could make something bigger or smaller. It was just like, it's a Procreate, and I started in Adobe Draw, which is very prehistoric seeming, but that's where I started. It's like a whole new ball game for an artist because, like you said, you have watercolor pencils, color pencils, you have paint, you have airbrush. Airbrush is my favorite, and you can just all on the iPad. But with colored pencils, it's all, it's a real medium. You can't hit the reset button or the undo.
Undo, yeah.
You can't hit undo. So, but there's something for me with art. And while I love digital and I do it often, there's something with a physical. And I like to paint. I've done acrylic paints, things like that. But my favorite medium is colored pencils. And bringing that little pack into class that day, it was Pocahontas. I wanted you to show me how to color, and the way you laid the colors down and blended, and it just kind of like something just kind of clicked in my mind. And I still wasn't good at it after that, but like I had learned a little, I had seen you do it, but it took me a really long time. And one day during the pandemic, and I had just done digital. I'd actually, then I started doing commissions people would order things from me. I started an Instagram, and over the next year after that, I grew a lot, but I'm still very much perfectionist. I look at my stuff and I'm like, no, no, no. But during the quarantine, locked in the house, I looked at those 12 Prismacolor pencils and I was like, maybe I'll give this a try again. This was like back in spring, like in March, February, March. And I sketched Elsa from Frozen 2. And that was the picture where it really changed, because I had been using the colored pencils for a little while. And I did not know how to blend. I was watching tutorials. I was trying to remember what you taught me. But for some reason, when it came to that Elsa, I don't know what happened. Like something just clicked. And I used the same pencils, but the result was 1,000 times different. Like I blended the colors like it was makeup on a real face. And I realized these pencils are wax based. Oh my goodness. They mix together. Oh my goodness. They are not like a regular colored pencil. You lay down the color lightly and then you take your blending color and you blend it all together. And it just mixes and it looks almost like a painting. Like people don't believe when they see my actual work that it's colored pencil, because it kind of looks like oil paint. Like the blending of the colors. I just did a Selena portrait and her neck, it just has so many different colors, like it looks like a painting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's blending. It really is. And so then I became, again, it felt like I unlocked a new level, like something clicked and then I couldn't stop. And I just made a new piece every day. And I mean, fully drawn, fully colored, like complete. Then I started selling them. Then I thought, what if I made prints, because people wanted to buy them? And so then, that's when I asked you to scan some of them. And now I have my own scanner, and my own website and my own shop. And colored pencil is definitely my favorite medium. And I still look at my stuff and I think, man, I need to be better. But I have come a long way, into getting featured on different pages online, been interviewed in a gallery far, far away, which is cute because it's like play on Star Wars. They're Yeah, they're awesome because they feature different artists, and they featured my stuff and did an interview with me, so that was a high honor. I've done giveaways, and I've had my work featured on big art pages with like 50,000 followers. So like I have to remind myself of that whenever I look at something and I hate it, that I've come somewhere. Even if I'm not selling a million things every day, I have still sold more things since spring to now than I ever had before. Um, and my Instagram's grown and things like that. And from that, I then mixed in the cosplay, which is now the current thing, my brand new YouTube channel and the 2 videos I've made so far. And I'm just trying to mix all the things I love it together, and it's weird. And I'm just trying to mix the pot and see what happens.
Tell us, how are you building now? Because it sounds like you're doing what you've always done. It almost sounds like you're back in the waiting room with the kids coming in, and you're working something out now. Where are you at, and what are your plans?
Right now, I am, other than commissions, when I get an order, I put things aside and I work on that first. But otherwise, I kind of follow my own creative train. For a while, it would be like there was Inktober, where for October you draw characters. I did Animetober. I did about 6 or 7 days, and I got tired of it, and I just started doing my own thing again. Because you follow a list of anime characters, and when it got to ones I didn't know, I was like, I don't want to I don't want to do this. When I love a character or a subject of my work, it shows, I think. So that's why I started kind of doing characters I love. Like I started with Disney characters, and my second love is anime, and I love the art style and the characters and all of that. So doing those characters, and just kind of following that. And now it's turned into, okay, which characters do I like to draw that I happen to have costumes for? And also, which ones do I love that I don't have costumes for, that I can get a costume for and create a new kind of avenue? So I started out with princesses. I started out with Jasmine and Belle. So I do time lapses. You can see me creating a piece from start to finish, sketch, dropping color down, blending, mixing, background, fully finished. And then also you could see me putting my wig on and singing A Whole New World and then holding the picture at the end. It's weird, but it's all of the things I do together. And it's kind of cool to see everything come together. And then I did it with Belle as well. And then I just finished Selena, the famous singer. She's like a huge role model for me. having Hispanic heritage and everything. She's amazing. So I just finished a portrait of her, and I, of course, have a costume of her. So that's going to be my next video. But I ended
I'm
up making
just
a,
looking right now. I'm on Instagram looking at your site, and I see the Selena, and then I see your reels that you have up there,
yeah, those are
and
little videos.
so and you have 2,000 followers there as well. So you're building that. So sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, you're good. Yeah, I've been working on building. I definitely want to get more followers. And I'm also, I have ideas. I just put them down on a list and I try to kind of steamroll through it, I guess. And sometimes you find that your favorite things might not be the viewer's favorite things. So I try to keep in mind what things are popular as well as what do I love to do, because I don't want to lose any of my passion for things, but I also want to make sure that I'm relatable and viewer friendly so that people can see what they want to see. So I'm starting a new TikTok where it's going to be just me cosplaying the characters and drawing. So that'll be one avenue. And then I just started a YouTube like a day ago. Um, so that'll be a place to look. And then Instagram. Instagram's been my primary way to get my art across. So it's where I've been featured. It's where I've gotten clients. And um, yeah, and I'm trying to start like a club where people can get prints every month and get discounts on things. And I plan to do a little more like networking as far as, building the relationships with repeat clients and people. And I'm also looking into stickers. Have you seen that artists do that? You can get your artwork, the design cut out, and you sell stickers. And I'm thinking, who
Mhm.
doesn't want a Frozen sticker or an Esmeralda sticker or heck, anime stickers? Those are huge. I want anime stickers. Like, like who doesn't want a Naruto sticker? Like, so I'm like, okay, I draw all these things, why not get them cut out into stickers? I was talking to a friend and she was telling me that she orders stickers from artists and stuff. And I'm like, hey, like, I want to do that. So
Yeah,
a
yeah. I
lot of
mean,
ideas.
it's good. It's you're widening your revenue stream, and
Yeah.
that's a pretty cool thing. It's cool that you're using social media. I mean, I know you're really good on it, and I know that you're good at building it. How do you build your following?
Algorithms. Ugh.
Yeah, tell
And they
me
switch
about
the
that.
algorithms up. They switch the way that the app runs. They switch it on you. I don't know why they're doing it. I don't know if it's that they want you to pay for ads or what, but it'll be like I have all this engagement one day and then the next day none, and people tell me I'm not seeing it. I don't see it. It's like they hide your posts. So it's really frustrating as a creator because you're on here trying to show your work and maybe you put hours and hours into a piece and then nobody sees it. Like it's like, so sometimes I'll pay for boosts, but it's like I don't want to do that every time.
How much
um,
is a boost?
it depends on what you want to do. You can set the time and the audience engagement. If you want it to run for like 2 days, you can pay like $10 and stuff like that. Usually the only time I'll boost things is like if there's a sale in my shop or if it's a featured piece or, so that kind of thing.
Does it
Um,
work?
yeah, sometimes at the beginning it would. And then it's like sometimes my posts I've never been boosted have like 2,000 likes and I don't know why. And then some will get like 90. And I'm like, really? Like
Yeah.
it's hard to not connect the quality of the work with the amount of likes. And that's you got to kind of be tough with that. The reason that I have success on Instagram is just because of my cosplay account at Chicago Princess Sarah. And that's because I do all my princess work over there. I've done loads of photo shoots and Comic Cons and meetups with other cosplayers. But I say cosplay, but I'm kind of a cheater because it's really just the costumes I use for my my job. But I do like cosplay, and I did actually just get my very first anime costume. That's going to be a part of another video artwork, so that'll be cool. So I'm kind of trying to branch out and do other things as well as the princess stuff. But over there, I'm just under 10,000 followers, and I've
Yeah, I
just been
just see that. Yep.
yeah, and I've just been kind of sitting there for a while. Like it was 95, then it was 94, now it's 93, then it went back up and it goes back down. It's just like, so I don't know. You just keep on posting and keep on being diligent. I know they say if you post every day, but it's hard in the pandemic. It's like I don't have gigs every weekend anymore.
Right.
So I don't necessarily I have to think outside of the box and set up a ring light inside and put a costume on,
Do you
so
recycle? Do you recycle old posts at times or old photos and make a new
sometimes
post?
Sometimes or with a shoot, it'll be like, it was that one day, but you get 10
Mm-hmm.
pictures. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
spread them out over time, kind of thing. I know Lauren used to, like, she has about 15 or 16,000 followers. She would literally have Google Doc, like Google Drives folders of just characters. And then every
Hmm.
day she would have scheduled posts so that every day there's a new post and a new character. The pandemic has kind of changed that for all of us. But before it was like she was constantly engaging people, constantly had a new picture, constantly had a new costume, like just over and over and over again. But for me, it was like, I didn't have all the costumes at my house, or I wasn't doing all those different characters. And so it just requires more brain power and a lot more time and effort, especially putting on all the makeup and getting all ready. So it's a lot of work.
So, Sarah, as we're wrapping up, what advice do you have for aspiring artists to run and operate their own businesses?
I think sometimes it's hard for me to give advice because I feel that I'm so young and I need to be taking it from other people. But considering that I have, run and sold a business and I'm running one again, I think the number one takeaway that has been helpful for me to achieve what I've achieved at the age that I did is just don't let anybody tell you that like you can't, and don't let anybody tell you you need X, Y, and Z to do something. Like I went through the whole funk of you need a college degree, and I went to college and I didn't really like it, and I still ran and started my own business. And so what works for one person might not work for you. So try to figure out what it is that you love more than anything, and that passion will set you apart from others. So just go for it. Like that's something that I've always done. And just do it. Don't let anybody stop you. If you have a dream, then definitely, follow it. Don't let anyone take it away from you. That's one of my favorite quotes from Selena, of course. She says, if you have a dream, don't let anyone take it away from you. So that would be probably the biggest thing that I followed. I'm lucky enough to have parents that taught me that and supported me with that. So yeah, definitely go for it.
Awesome advice. Thanks, Sarah. So, where can people find you?
So on Instagram, my cosplay account is at Chicago Princess Sarah. And my art account, where you can order artwork, see my latest posts, things like that, is at Princess Sarah Art. And my website, there's a link there as well on my Instagram, but it's just princesssarahart.com. And my new YouTube channel is Princess Sarah Marie, and you can also find links for that on my Instagram as well. And that's brand new. I've just got my 2 latest videos up there. But if you check it out, go ahead and subscribe so you can see all my new stuff.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being my guest, Sarah. You rock.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am so very proud of you for all that you have accomplished, both creatively and professionally to date. I mean, it's just been so much fun to watch you grow up and so much fun to watch you move into this next act of your life. Um, so, here are my takeaways from today. The first thing I would like to point out is I had mentioned my friend Greg Eichelberger, who was in episode 12 earlier on. And he's a dear friend. His wife is a dear friend, and they are both incredibly creative, and they're both incredibly supportive of all their kids. And when you pour into your child throughout their childhood into their adulthood, it benefits them ways that are amazing. Um, there is a certain amount of freedom and esteem and courage that can uh, just empower your kid to go and do the things that many others might not even consider because it seems daunting. But when you pour into your kid in ways that build them up and fill them with confidence, and you're encouraging them, oh my goodness, the freedoms in their life that they're going to experience are going to be amazing. You just give them a head start in life that is an amazing bonus. The next thing I take away from that is, as much as support means to every kid, they've still got to take it and run with it. They've got to do it, right? And Sarah has done it. Sarah is getting after it and has gotten after it and has just seen so much success in her short career. And I love that at a very young age, she decided, hey, I'm going to make this movie. And the family rallied around her and they made this movie. They got involved in all the things that go into making a movie, from renting the camera to getting the actors to making sure the script works to lighting to editing and on and on and on, and all the way through to this premiere that they had, which was amazing. I remember being at it and it was so very cool. And then Sarah, saw that, hey, I can sing, I love Disney, I can do this princess thing. And then it turned into, hey, I actually can do a princess party thing. I can make this a business. And that is just another amazing accomplishment that she started this business and realized at some point, okay, maybe this is not exactly what I want to do. So now I've built something of value. I'm going to sell it. And so she sells it, and she's still able to go and perform, outside of the pandemic, of course, right? She had been able to perform up until the pandemic, and do the things that she loves while not doing the things that she doesn't. And she's now venturing more into visual arts and working on whatever the next step is in her career. So the last thing that I take away from this episode is a hunger for adventure and the willingness to get after it. Okay, to push and to go after things, because nobody is going to do that for you. Whether you go to college and get a degree or not, whether you've got all the skills in the world or not, or you need to build on those skills, whatever it is, wherever you're at, you've got to do it. It's up to you. And if you don't, nobody's going to do it for you. Okay, so I just think that it's just so much fun to live an adventure, and it's so life-giving to live an adventure. You hear it in Sarah's voice, and she's had like this life that a lot of people don't experience, because they don't go after their dreams or their skills or whatever it is. I don't care if you're an engineer or an artist or whatever. If you don't go after it, life is just going to be a little bit less colorful, huh? A little bit less bright, a little bit less exciting. It doesn't mean that there aren't challenges in the midst of it, because we know that there are going to be challenges, right? But if you go in with that mindset and get after it, boy, the things that can happen are rather amazing, and they enrich your life. So that's it for this week's episode. I want to thank you for watching or listening wherever you are at. I'm going to ask if you would subscribe to the show. Please share episodes with the artists in your life. And then I would encourage you to go make something that is going to get you closer to making a living with your art. Or if you're already making a living with your art, what are your plans moving forward? What is your next step? What do you need to do? Because the next step is always the most important step, right? All right. On behalf of the Breakthrough Creative, I'm John McDavitt. See you next time.